Hello everyone, this is Professor Harper with another lecture for journalism research. We've looked at a variety of data um, areas of interest and specific websites that can provide specific data about the Philadelphia government, the U.S. Bureau of Census, the Library of Congress, education. And what I'd like to do in this lecture is to give you some aggregators that provide you with a variety of information from aggregated information and aggregated sites. The first one, which I think is really interesting and is a lot of fun, is numbeo.com. And so you go to numbeo.com, and it can provide a lot of comparisons between one city and your city. So, for example, if I plug in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it basically gives me a variety of comparisons um, between, you know, what it costs and what things are valued at in various cities. So first of all, we have the information about Philadelphia, that a four-person family monthly costs are about $3,600. So it's pretty expensive. Single person costs about $1,000 without rent. Then it shows some brief comparisons with New York. It's 20% lower for the cost of living. Rent in Philadelphia is 50% lower, and the cost of living, however, ranks it pretty high throughout the world at 37th out of almost 500. And so let's make a comparison with something. Let's just do Pittsburgh, and I think we'll find that Pittsburgh is less expensive, but not much. Consumer prices are 1% higher. Rent, including consumer prices, is 10% higher. Rent prices are significantly higher. Um, and so, we find that it's cheaper to live in Pittsburgh than it is in Philadelphia. I think we basically know that, but it provides, some breakdowns in terms of what the costs are for individual items. So a beer, costs more in Philadelphia than it does in Pittsburgh. Guess they drink more beer so in Pittsburgh than we do in Philadelphia, so the costs go down. Maybe the transportation costs are less. Cappuccinos about the same. Coke and Pepsi's, it's actually less expensive in Philadelphia than it is in Pittsburgh. It gives you a wide variety of milk, chicken fillets, apples, tomatoes, potatoes, onions, um, and also areas of transportation, what utilities cost, what sports cost in comparison, childcare, clothing, rent, purchasing an apartment, and basically salaries in Pittsburgh are more than they are in Philadelphia by 13%, so that it's cheaper to live in Pittsburgh, and you actually get paid more on average in Pittsburgh than you do in Philadelphia. So we may all love Philadelphia, but it may make sense for us to move to Pittsburgh because we'll make more money and it costs less. So that Numbeo um, provides all of this information and these comparisons. It goes through property prices. Okay, it goes through quality of life. This one gets a little more difficult to pinpoint because these are determinations made by individuals. It's not exactly a poll. People are hired or either contribute information to this site, and they put it all together. They throw the outliers out. Somebody may be making up that a hamburger costs $100 or something, and then they put this together. So the problem with quality of life is that and here's, you can get a premium site for Numbeo, but most of what you need you can get for free. The premium price is about $100 a month. So I'm filling in all of this. Thought I had an account, but it's been a while. Um, and let's just say New York. Okay. So let's go back here to Philadelphia. And so quality of life gives me purchasing power, safety index, which is essentially crime, and it's not too good. Healthcare is quite high. Climate index is good. Cost of living, moderate. Um, Property price to income ratio, and that's where we get into, in Pittsburgh, we made more money and it cost less for rent and for buying a place, so that our money doesn't go very far when we're trying to buy something in Philadelphia. The commute time is actually, it's gone up from our, if you recall from our 2010 census, it was 33.4 minutes. Now it's gone up, and the pollution index, and then it comes up with a quality of life, which for Philadelphia is quite high. Okay. Um, when you go to, you can go to property prices, so that it gives you, and this is, this is the type of um, information you can get about a variety of cities, and you can make a comparison to Philadelphia. But the price to income ratio, which how much money do I make and how much does it cost me for something, it's interesting that the first two are countries that are in crisis. So people are not making very much money, and so therefore it's too expensive for them to buy. Hong Kong, Shenzhen, China, which is in South China, are quite expensive places, both big business capitals in China. Tehran, Beijing, Mumbai. And so what I find is interesting about this site is that it provides you a wide variety of data um, that you can use in terms of comparisons. So again, here's for the Americas. Okay, I can do mortgages. So the mortgage basically gives you an idea of how much I'm carrying, and you'll see that most of the places that are actually quite good are in the United States. Okay, and most of the places that are more expensive are in South America. So let's go back to the first page in terms of cost of living. Um, I think that this one is kind of interesting. A basket of goods and services. Okay, so that it will give you the ability to find out what things cost. And let's say we want to move to um, Miami, Florida. And we're making a comparison here on what it costs. Okay, so that what you can see here is that although Miami is an expensive place to live, it's roughly the same as Philadelphia. Um, Rent is actually higher than it is in Philadelphia, and actually the two, I mean, if you recall, the cost of living in Philadelphia was 37th and Miami is 38th, so they're very close to one another. So that it tells you again, what happens here is that individuals will go into a supermarket and they will price all of these various things from milk to cigarettes, and transportation, what it costs per gallon of gasoline, and what the utilities are. And they'll give that information to Numbeo, and the people there will crunch it. It happens to be based in Prague, Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic. And they crunch these numbers together, and I think it provides a really useful source of data. You have to be careful that that you source where this comes from so that people can check it out and make their own comparisons. But Numbeo, I think, is a really useful tool. When it comes to statistics, statistica.com is another pretty pricey uh, site if you get an account, but you can get a free one. And this is mainly business related information, so that here we can see Facebook, the number of active users worldwide. The data's, goes year by year, so that we can see the obvious growth of Facebook over time. We can look at smartphone market share worldwide by vendor, so that we can take a look at what a lot of people would think is that Apple has a significant share of the market. Well, not so much, because you have a lot of competition, particularly in China, for various services. And so here's Apple in gray, okay? And you can see that Samsung, Huawei, which is a Chinese company, have pretty significant share of mostly the Chinese and Asian markets. You can go back and look at various industries in agriculture, chemical resources, construction. You can also take a look at the consumer market outlook, which is not going to be particularly good right now, although it's getting better. And you can look at things that are likely to be positive, but some that are negative, so that luxury goods are probably going to be the outlook. I don't know, but it's probably not going to be particularly good. It's gone up in terms of year to year and what the projections are. But if you look at the projection for 2020 here, you can see that you're going to have a significant dip because of the pandemic, but the expectations are that it will rise again in 2021 to slightly more than what it was in 2019. You can take a look at consumer electronics, which probably took a hit because of the pandemic, but probably has a good outlook. And this again is the United States. So again, you're looking at consumer electronics for 2019. It has a breakdown of radio, multimedia, TVs, telephones being the biggest part here. And you see a dip in terms of the pandemic to $117 billion. And then the expectations are a growth in 2021, but it's still not going to be as high. But then you're going to see the expectations are kind of averaging out. So statistica.com, I think a really useful tool on aggregating a lot of information for business and for various sectors in the economy. And here you can, if you're interested in the methodology, it basically provides you with how they put the data together, and so that you can get a sense of how they come up with these figures. Mainly, it's done in-house, and they have an international team of analysts and market researchers to determine what in fact is going on in various sectors of the world economy. One that is somewhat useful, but I think has some limitations, is the Google public data site. So you can see here, google.com /public data. And this gives you some information on a variety of things, but the difficulty is that it your searches are going to have to be very specific. And a lot of times you can't find things that you're really looking for. It's useful, but here you have the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. This one's very specific, so that it provides you with unemployment, productivity, costs. And then if you go to all the data providers, you can see world development, global competitiveness, international database. This is from the Census Bureau. the OECD, which gives you international facts about what's going on uh, in the rest of the world outside of the United States. But you get some, you get some odd things as well. So that, for example, you get statistics on Iceland in the rail. Um, I don't know. I guess someone found that there was a need to put Icelandic statistics on the site, but haven't used them in my journalistic lifetime. But I just wanted to give you a sense of these aggregators. They're useful in terms of comparisons, in terms of having a lot of data in one site. So remember public data on Google, Statistica, and Numbeo. So thanks very much, and we'll see you online.